Romanchakampasutarangabhajo Vande Gurasi Charanarabindam Sangsharadavanalira Pranaya Karina Ghana Ghanatyam Saptasakalana Gunarnavasha Vande Gurasi Charanarabindam Sri Vigraharadhana Nitanana Singaratan Mandiramarjanado Sri Vigraharadhana Nitanana Singaratan Mandiramarjanado Yuktascha Bhaktangscha Nijanjatopi Vande Gurasi Charanarabindam Yuktascha Bhaktangscha Nijanjatopi Vande Gurasi Charanarabindam Sangsharadavarnalanilaloka Pranaya Karuna Ghana Ghanatyam Saptasya Kalyana Gunarnavasha Vande Gurasi Charanarabindam Chaturvidhasi Bhagavat Prasad Sadvarnatitan Harivaka Sanghan Chaturvidhasi Bhagavat Prasad Sadvarnatitan Harivaka Sanghan Daiva Tripting Bhajata Sadaiva Daiva Tripting Bhajata Sadaiva Vande Gurasi Charanarabindam Vande Gurasi Charanarabindam Vande Gurasi Charanarabindam Sri Radhika Madhavayara Para Madhurjalira Gunarupa Namnam Sri Radhika Madhavayara Para Madhurjalira Gunarupa Namnam Pratikshana Sadhana Lalupasam Pratikshana Sadhana Lalupasha Vande Gurasi Charanarabindam Vande Gurasi Charanarabindam Vande Gurasi Charanarabindam Sangsharadavanalilaloka Pranaya Karuna Ghana Ghanatyam Saptasya Kalyana Gunarnavasha Vande Gurasi Charanarabindam Nikunja Juna Ratikali Siddhai Nikunja Juna Ratikali Siddhai Jajali Vijittirapekshaniya Nikunja Juna Ratikali Siddhai Jajali Vijittirapekshaniya Tatrati Dakshadati Ballavasham Vande Gurasi.
What is the program? We
So-
start now.
We're just gonna give it a minute. We have students in the other classrooms that are coming back into the main room here. So let's just give them a couple minutes. We are wrapping up our Sunday school.
Okay.
And then we'll get started here real quickly. We have 3 classes going on at the same time, about 35 students. So we're just wrapping up and moving into the main room here.
Okay. Okay, wonderful. So just let me know, and then we'll start chanting as soon as everybody's ready.
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay, thank you.
Ow.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna.
Hare Krishna, devotees. We're just finishing up our Sunday school, so I think different devotees from our Sunday school are coming. We see His Holiness Guru Prasad Maharaj is here. Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Are you the monitor today?
Today it's going to be Ram Vijay Prabhu.
Oh, okay.
We're looking for Ram Vijay Prabhu. Ram Vijay
I'm here.
Okay, yes. I see you. Sorry, Maharaj. Today was our first day of Sunday, our summer semester for our Sunday school. So a lot of the kids and parents are just joining here after we finish our program. But
Okay.
Ram Vijay Prabhu, over to you. Don't know if you can get started or...
Yes. I think we can get started now. So just before we turn it over to Maharaj, just wanted to take a few minutes to welcome His Holiness Guru Prasad Maharaj to our congregation. We had been planning for Maharaj to come and visit our center here in Austin for several months. And unfortunately, due to this COVID situation, Maharaj could not make it here in person, but he's here in person virtually with us. So we're very grateful. For those of us who do not know His Holiness Guru Prasad Maharaj, I just want to give a brief introduction. His Holiness Guru Prasad Maharaj was born in US. He studied nuclear physics at Purdue University. And after studying there, he transferred to University of Texas, where he initially made contact with the Hare Krishna movement, with the Krishna devotees. But it was later during his military service in Panama where his encounter with Iskcon changed his life dramatically. And upon concluding his military service, Guru Prasad Maharaj joined in pioneering a group of Krishna devotees in Central America that were in San Jose, Costa Rica. He attended the 1976 Mayapur Vrindavan Festival. Over there, he was initiated by Srila Prabhupada into our Gaudiya Madhava Sampradaya. He took sannyas initiation in Rio de Janeiro in 1982 by Hridayananda Das Goswami Maharaj. And then Guru Prasad Maharaj has made immense contributions to our worldwide Iskcon movement, especially Latin America, where he's had a lot of responsibilities, not only just distributing BBT publications and opening up temples, but cultivating devotees, establishing worship centers, collaborating with so many other diverse administrative offices within Iskcon. And, currently Maharaj focuses on, as a GBC for the zonal assignments, focuses on, many Latin American countries like Guatemala, Honduras, Panama, Costa Rica, Trinidad, Tobago, Venezuela, Colombia, Mexico, and spends a lot of time here with us here in Texas, also based out of Harlingen, but very close to us in San Antonio as well. So we're very, very fortunate that Maharaj is here with us today. And from what I understand, as the background of Maharaj's banner here shows us that Maharaj might be speaking to us about Lord Jagannath. We all in various parts of the world have celebrated the Snan Yatra festival just a couple days ago. So Maharaj, we welcome you. We are humbled. We are grateful that you're here amongst us. Welcome to our Austin Iskcon Round Rock Center.
Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to have this electronic sangha, and it's in one sense it's second only to direct association. But on the other hand, it gives many people the opportunity to attend where they may not have been able to attend physically. So there's the on that plane, it's the best. So it's best and second best, depending on which way you want to see it. And considering that Srila Prabhupada said that Vani is more important than Vapu, so this may be even the best. So first I'll chant just a few minutes, and if everybody can keep their microphones on silent, muted, because otherwise the different bandwidths, we get a chorus instead of different things coming in at different times. I already tried that many times. Unless everybody has the exact same bandwidth, then it doesn't work. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Vanachari. Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashari Go Bhakta Vrinda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta-vrinda. Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Swami, Jai Jagannath. Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath. Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Swami, Jai Jagannath. Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra,
Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Jaya Jagannath Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra
Jagannatha Jaya Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra
Nitai Gaura Hari Bo Hari Bo Nitai Gaura Hari Bo
Gaura Hari Bo Hari Bo Gaura Hari Bo
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada
Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada
Jai Vishnupada Paramahanta Paribhajacharya Ashtotarya Shishima Abhaya Charana Ravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Shri Prabhupada Ki
Jai
Jai Talila Vishnupada Ashtotarya Shishima Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Thakur Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Namacharya Shri Hariraj Thakur Ki Shad Goswami Ki प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत राधा शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद की श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोपिनाथ मुकुंद राधा कुंड की गोवर्धन की वृंदावन धाम की मायापुर धाम की गंगामयी की जामुनमयी की तुलसी देवी की भक्ति देवी की Samaveta Bhaktavinda ki, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki, Brihat Mridanga ki, Nitai Gaur Premanandi. All glory to the assembled devotees, all glory to the assembled devotees, all glory to the assembled devotees, all glory to Sri Guru, Sri Gauranga, Sri Prabhupada ki jai. Well, first of all, it's a privilege and honor to address all of you wonderful Vaishnavas. I hope that by Krishna's grace and by your blessings, I can say something meaningful. So I asked Ram Vijay Prabhu a few days ago what would be a good topic, and he said since the Snan Yatra of Lord Jagannath was just a couple days ago, that maybe that would be a good topic. So I just speak about Lord Jagannath. So I took that to heart, and that's what I'll try to do today. I just wanted to ask you, what is the time frame?
Maharaj, we can go up till 1 o'clock Central.
Okay. So first I would like to start, I wanted to read from the Padma Purana, Glorification of Jagannath Puri. This is from the 11th chapter of the Kriya Yoga Sara of Padma Purana. I'll just read the first verse in Sanskrit and then the rest just the translations. Lavanambo nidestire purushottama samgyatam puram tad brahmana shashta swargad apisu sudurlabam. On the shore of the saltwater ocean is the sacred city named Purushottam, O best of the Brahman. It is more difficult to attain even than heaven. Because the divine personality of Godhead is directly present in that city, it is called Purushottam by those who are expert knowers of names. O Brahmana, that rarely achieved holy district measures 10 yojanas on all sides. The embodied living beings who reside there are seen by the demigods as having 4 arms. Everyone who enters that holy district assumes a form like that of Lord Vishnu. Those who have discrimination need not be concerned at all about the truth of this. Even if the food of that place has been touched by a chandala, it may be accepted by superior persons. Because Lord Vishnu himself is in that food, even such a chandala is counted among the best of the twice born. The cook who has prepared that food is Lakshmi Devi, and the enjoyer of that food is Lord Janardhan himself. Therefore, O sage among the Brahmins, that food is difficult for even the demigods to attain. That food, the remnants of Lord Hari, is purifying and is rarely achieved in this world. For mortals who eat it, liberation is not at all difficult to achieve. That food is very difficult to obtain for all the demigods headed by Brahma. Whenever they get it, they eat it with great respect. What to speak, then, of ordinary mortals? If someone's heart does not take pleasure in that rarely obtained food, all the great sages call him an enemy of Lord Vishnu. As the waters of the Ganga purify the entire earth, O Brahmana, so that food purifies all places and destroys all sins. O best of the Brahmanas, although that divine food is very tender, it acts like a thunderbolt in shattering one's mountain of sins. One whose sinful reactions earned from previous lives have been eradicated develops devotion for that difficult to obtain food. And someone whose pious reactions earned over many lifetimes have become depleted also develops devotion for that food. O best of the Brahmanas. So that's a little introduction. So I wanted to read one verse which I consider to be the perfection of the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. from the Madhya Lila Chaitanya Charitamrita. This describes the essence of the Rath Yatra. Of course, Rath Yatra, we have accounts of Rath Yatra mostly in Skanda Purana, and but I'm not going to go into that because Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu revealed the essence of Rath Yatra, which is the relationship between Radha and Krishna, each feeling intense separation. And we'll speak about that a little more after we read this verse, which is this is Madhya Lila, chapter 13, text 119 for anyone that wants to read along. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. He Matta Gaura Shame Donghe Telha Teli. Swarate Shamire Rakhe Gaura Mahabali. I'm not going to read the word for word because of the time factor. The translation: there was a sort of competition between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Jagannath in seeing who would lead. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so strong that he made Lord Jagannath wait in his car. Purport. In his Anubhasya, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur describes the ecstasy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as follows. After giving up the company of the gopis in Vrindavan, Sri Krishna, the son of Maharaj Nanda, engaged in his pastimes at Dwarka. When Krishna went to Kurukshetra with his brother and sister and others from Dwarka, he again met the inhabitants of Vrindavan. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Radha Bhava Jyoti Suvalita. That is, Krishna himself assuming the part of Srimati Radharani in order to understand Krishna. Lord Jagannath Dev is Krishna, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Srimati Radharani. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's leading Lord Jagannath toward the Gundicha temple corresponded to Srimati Radharani's leading Krishna toward Vrindavan. Shri Kshetra Jagannath Puri was taken as the kingdom of Dwarka, the place where Krishna enjoys supreme opulence. But he was being led by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Vrindavan, the simple village where all the inhabitants are filled with ecstatic love for Krishna. Shri Kshetra is a place of Aishwarya Lila, just as Vrindavan is the place of Madhurya Lila. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's following at the rear of the Rath indicated that Lord Jagannath Krishna was forgetting the inhabitants of Vrindavan. Although Krishna neglected the inhabitants of Vrindavan, he could not forget them. Thus, in his opulent Rath Yatra, he was returning to Vrindavan. In the role of Srimati Radharani, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was examining. Just one second. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu fell behind, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was examining whether the Lord still remembered the inhabitants of Vrindavan. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu fell behind the Rath car, Jagannath Dev, Krishna himself, understood the mind of Srimati Radharani. Therefore, Jagannath sometimes fell behind the dancing of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to indicate to Srimati Radharani that he had not forgotten. Thus, Lord Jagannath would stop the forward march of the Rath and wait at a standstill. And this way, Lord Jagannath agreed that without the ecstasy of Srimati Radharani, he could not feel satisfied. While Jagannath was thus waiting, Gaurasundar Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in his ecstasy of Srimati Radharani, immediately came forward to Krishna. At such times, Lord Jagannath would proceed again very slowly. These competitive exchanges were all part of the love affair between Krishna and Srimati Radharani. In that competition between Lord Chaitanya's ecstasy for Lord Jagannath and Jagannath's ecstasy for Srimati Radharani, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu emerged successful. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki Om Jnana Timirandasya Kananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Vishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Mahyam Darati Swaparatitam Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Shatadine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radha Shivashari Gaura Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So I wanted to explain a little bit about this aspect of Rath Yatra, meaning Lord Chaitanya revealing the real meaning of Rath Yatra. But because we're celebrating, or we're dedicating this class to Lord Jagannath's pastimes, on the cue of the Snana Yatra, just wanted to mention that Snana Yatra is the actual day when Lord Jagannath, Baladevi, and Subhadra appeared before Lord Indradyumna, or King Indradyumna, and Lord Brahma. And when he appeared, otherwise this is the day when he appeared and the ceremony was held, his Abhishek was held millions of years ago. And so thereafter, every year, from that time to now, Lord Jagannath is bathed on that day to remember that this is the day when Lord Jagannath appeared in this very special form, which was bewildering to King Indradyumna and everybody. Indradyumna couldn't understand it, but then the Lord revealed to him that this is how I want to appear, and this is my form of supreme ecstasy. And that supreme ecstasy is the highest manifestation of separation, where Krishna, in the form of Jagannath, is feeling intense separation for Srimati Radharani, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu representing the feelings of manifesting the feelings of Srimati Radharani, is feeling intense separation. But of course, as we know, Radharani always emerges victorious in this competition, as Srila Prabhupada and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur are explaining. So, therefore, this ecstasy is the origin of the main deities of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. What are the main deities of Gaudiya Vaishnavas? Radha and Krishna, Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra Devi, and Gaurnitai. Because, or Gaurnitai or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In Gaudiya Mat, it's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Mahaprabhu, Sri Chaitanya, Radha, Krishna, Nahi Anya. But there's no difference between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Radha and Krishna. But Srila Prabhupada, having a preaching mission, he established Gaurnitai. So here we have Radha and Krishna, and their intense separation represented on two sides. One side, Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, feeling the ecstasy of hearing about the Vrindavan pastimes and mitigating their separation, especially Lord Jagannath or Krishna. And we have Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the mood of Srimati Radharani, but with Nityananda Prabhu on our altars. But originally, it was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So anyway, if you go to the Yoga Peeth, you'll see that the deity is Panchatattva with Jagannath, Jagannath with Radha and Krishna, and Mahaprabhu with Radha and Krishna. So anyway, that's just a little background. So I wanted to cover the Rath Yatra, Lord Chaitanya's ecstasy, and his dancing, because really for us, the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, this was revealed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and enriched by all of his devotees from the time of Mahaprabhu to now, so that we can relish the wonderful pastimes of and understand the depth of the meeting in Kurukshetra, and see how that is definitely and 100% related to Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Also there are many things included, which is the liberation or the final ecstasy of Prataparudra, and we'll just briefly mention that, and because he's a very important part of this pastime. So the pastime begins, Snan Yatra. After the Snan Yatra, the Lord, of course, there is a Leela of declaring that the Lord has become ill because of bathing. Of course, at that time of year, it's very difficult to be ill and catch a fever or a cold, but that can happen to anyone. Nowadays, coronavirus, we could get virus anytime. So, of course, Lord Jagannath doesn't really get a virus, but he does this out of Leela, so that he can spend time with the goddess of fortune in secluded place, because he's always having his darshan. So, just like any man in this world who works, then he comes home and has time with his family. So Lord Jagannath also, he's working, his work is giving his mercy and his darshan to all the devotees, so many hours every day. And then he goes home for 2 weeks. He's working very hard, giving his unlimited mercy to the living entity. And there's a whole pastime related to the prasadam, which was revealed by Lochan Das Thakur, how the prasadam of the Lord of Vaikuntha, which was not given to anyone except for Lakshmi Devi, but Narada Muni managed to get some. He gave some to Lord Shiva, but Lord Shiva took that little tiny bit of remnant for himself, and then Parvati said, "What about me? I'm supposed to be your better half, but I can see I'm your neglected half." This was the beginning of neglect of the wives. And so then she prayed to the Lord, and the Lord said, "Don't worry, I will come in a very special form, and you will have your own temple, and in that temple you will be the first one to get my Mahaprasadam every day." And therefore in the Jagannath temple, there is the temple of Durga, or the temple of Bimala, and Bimala Prasad, and we all get Bimala Prasad and Jagannath Prasad through Bimala Prasad, and we all got Bimala Prasad in the form of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So if you go to Jagannath Puri, you get double Bimala Prasad. So in that time, Lord Jagannath retires. Nobody can see him. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was feeling such great separation that he could not remain in Jagannath Puri without seeing Lord Jagannath. So he goes to Alalanath, and in Alalanath, Lord Chaitanya fell before the deity, and he was feeling so much ecstasy that his ecstasy melted the stones below him. And of course, anyone who goes to Alalanath after getting accosted by the pujaris there, if you can finally get free of them, you can see that stone, or they will gladly take you there for 100 rupees or 200 rupees, and they'll take you somewhere else for another 100 rupees. But anyway, why did Lord Chaitanya feel such ecstasy? And why does that deity have 4 arms? He's Krishna. So how does Krishna have 4 arms? Because he has the flute, but he has 4 arms. So how does that happen? Because in Rasa Leela, there are different Ras Leelas. In some Ras Leelas, Lord Chaitanya, Krishna, by his dancing with the gopis, offends Srimati Radharani. And by offending Srimati Radharani, then she leaves. And Krishna goes chasing after her. But in other times, especially the spring Rath Yatra, Krishna leaves. And the gopis go searching for him. So we see in a story in Chaitanya Charitamrita that when the gopis are chasing Krishna, they're looking for him. They find this form of Narayan and they ask him, where is Krishna? But it was actually Krishna. What happened was Krishna, to hide from the gopis, he went behind some bushes. But then one of the gopis saw him behind the bushes. So he thought, I can't let them see me. So he took the form of Narayan with 4 arms. And the gopis came up to him and they said, where's Krishna? My dear Narayan, where's Krishna? And then he said, I haven't seen him. And so they all went away. But Srimati Radharani, feeling so much separation, was separated from the gopis. So when she arrived where Krishna was, he still had 4 arms. But when he saw Srimati Radharani and he looked into her eyes, 2 of those arms disappeared, and Radharani could understand that Krishna was hiding from the gopis. So she also went along with the other gopis, and Krishna again hid himself. So that's why Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu felt such ecstasy, and why he would go there at Alalanath. So anyway, he comes back on the day before, and on the first public feeding, meaning in those 15 days where Lord Jagannath is isolated, all of his offerings are kind of given to him almost like a prisoner. It's given to him, and no one really comes in to interfere with his Leela. But on the day of Rath Yatra, that's the first day where they have the pujaris make their normal offering. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was feeling such separation that he requested to go in and see Lord Jagannath during this offering. And of course, he was allowed, some of his intimate associates, he was allowed to go. And he went in and felt great ecstasy, such ecstasy that he could not take his eyes off of Lord Jagannath. So I always use this example of how we should see the deity. We should be so happy and blissful to see the deity that we can't tear ourselves away, but only by having some obligation, social work or whatever, we have to leave. But sometimes we do it very mechanically. We go before the deity, offer obeisances, and then leave. So Lord Chaitanya taught us, no, you have to absorb your mind in the beauty of their lordships and feel that one is pulling oneself away from one's very life by leaving the association of the deities, your home deity, the temple deity, any deity. And so then Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then Prataparudra, he takes a broom. This was a tradition because there's a story of his father, Purushottam Dev. He would sweep before the deities, and by sweeping before the deities, he was supposed to marry the daughter of the king of Kanchipur. But when the king's minister saw Purushottam Dev cleaning, he said, he's not a king, he's a street sweeper. How can you marry your daughter to a street sweeper? And so anyway, it's a long pastime. But finally, she does marry him and live happily ever after in Lord Jagannath's service. Following that tradition, Prataparudra, but not just following a tradition, because he felt such great ecstasy in serving Jagannath. Because, as we remember, Prataparudra tried so many times. The first time Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to Jagannath Puri, he was gone. He was on a tour of the kingdom. Then when he came back, he heard from Gopinath Acharya that actually this is not just a saintly person, he is the Lord himself. So the second time Lord Chaitanya came, Prataparudra requested Gopinath Acharya, let me see him. He said, no, you can't see him, you're a king. But he allowed him to see Lord Chaitanya's dancing. And he became so attached to Lord Chaitanya. He tried again and again and again. Finally, his son was admitted, and he was given the cloth from Lord Jagannath's turban, and he wore it upon himself. But he couldn't get the darshan of Lord Jagannath. So of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he couldn't get a personal meeting. And so then when the Rath Yatra came, and Lord Chaitanya saw, here is this king humbling himself before the Lord, sweeping between the temple and the Jagannath's cart. Lord Chaitanya decided to give him special mercy. So then, after Lord Jagannath mounted upon the cart, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to organize the kirtan. And so he organized 7 different kirtan parties around the cart. And then he decided to show this Prataparudra special mercy. He gave him 2 types of special mercy, because after seeing his sweeping, he allowed that Prataparudra could see him dancing in all of the different kirtan groups. Even when Prataparudra was seeing this, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya looked at him in surprise, because he expressed, Lord Chaitanya is everywhere, he's in all the groups. But Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya could not see that. And he said, just see, I told you, Lord Chaitanya will give you special mercy. But of course, Prataparudra still wanted to have his darshan. But then he gave another special mercy, that Prataparudra could see the conversation going on between Jagannath and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. No one else could see it. They could just see Lord Chaitanya dancing. So Lord Chaitanya, when he's dancing, first of all, he recites 4 beautiful prayers before Lord Jagannath. And the first prayer we know very well, Namo Mahabhadra, Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmane Hitaya Cha Jagat Hitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. So he chants that beautiful shloka, and then he chants a mantra from, I'll just give the translation, because there's no time to read all the mantras. But basically, Jayatu Devo Devaki Nandana Sao, Jayatu Krishna, Krishna Vishnu Vamsa Pratipaha. Oh All glories to that wonderful person who is the son of Devaki, and of course, Devaki and Vasudeva. And then, oh Krishna, who is who illuminates the whole Vishnu dynasty. Jayati Jayati Mega Sham Komalango. Oh Krishna, he is the beauty. He appears in this beautiful blackish form, which is and his features are as soft and beautiful as a lotus flower. Jayati Jayati Prithvi Bharanasho Mukunda. Oh Krishna, giver of liberation, you are lifting the load of this material world. And of course, that also applies to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then he says, I won't recite the Sanskrit, but he says, Lord Krishna, who is also known as Jananivas, the ultimate resort of all living entities, who is also known as Devaki Nandana or Yashoda Nandana, son of Devaki and Yashoda. He is the guide of the Yadu dynasty, and with his mighty arms, he kills everything inauspicious, as well as every man who is impious. By his presence, he destroys all things inauspicious for the living entities, moving and inert. His blissful smiling face, and this is Brajapuram Vanitanam Vardhanaya Kamarupa. His blissful smiling face always increases the lusty desires of the gopis of Vrindavan. May he always be glorious and happy. And then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he recited a very famous verse, which most of us quote very frequently, the last line, which is Gopi Bharatur Parakamalayur Dasa Dasa Anudasa. So in this prayer, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu reveals something very special for all of us. That when we stand before Lord Jagannath, when we stand before Radha and Krishna, when we stand before Gaurnitai or any deity, no, Naham Vipro, Nacha, Narapatir, we are not Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, or Shudras, Naham Varni, Nacha, Grihapatir. We're not Brahmachari, Grihasta, Sannyasi, Vanaprastha, but we are the servant of that Lord who is the master of the gopis of Vrindavan. So otherwise, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was, he followed very strictly his varnashram situation by being very, very faithful and carefully following the varnashram system, being the best of sannyasis. But he revealed that before Lord Jagannath, all of us, or before the Lord himself, all of us are dasa dasa anudasa. We are simply servants of the parampara, servants of our spiritual master, servants of the Vaishnavas, servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And on that platform, before the deity, in the kirtan, we are all devotees of the Lord. And the Lord himself, in the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, comes to exhibit that even he himself experiences such great ecstasy in being a devotee. Because the devotee always defeats the Lord. The Lord is always subordinate to the devotee. So the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that manifestation, shows that the Lord exhibits or shows us in his personal lila that the position of the devotee is so wonderful that the Lord himself aspires to be in that condition. So after reciting these verses, Lord Chaitanya begins his dancing. And in his dancing, he begins to feel the great ecstasy of seeing Lord Jagannath. He begins to manifest the ecstasy of Kurukshetra. Now, the meeting between Krishna and Srimati Radharani in Kurukshetra is very special, and we'll speak about that just a little bit later. So Swarup Damodar. He sees the Lord dancing, and as he's moving his arms, Swarup Damodar, being so expert in understanding the feelings, the emotions, and the manifestations of the Lord, he recites a verse, Setu Prananhat Parananat Painu Jaha Lagi Madanadahane Judigenu. So what is that? That now I have gained the Lord of my life, otherwise Shrimati Radharan. This is the ecstasy that Lord Chaitanya begins to exhibit. Now that Lord of my life has appeared. So grateful. I'm so grateful because the separation that I have been feeling all this time was burning in my heart and becoming totally intolerable. So this is the beginning of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's ecstasy. And up to that point, all of the different kirtan groups were performing separately. But when it came to that particular point where Lord Chaitanya begins to dance, his ecstasy increases more and more, seeing the beauty of Lord Jagannath and feeling the reciprocation. So the cart slows down and the cart stops. And then Lord Chaitanya begins dancing in such ecstasy. He jumps up in the air and Lord Nityananda catches him. He jumps up again, Lord Nityananda catches him. Advaitacharya is saying, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. And all the devotees gather around Lord Chaitanya. And they form three circles. The most intimate devotees in the inner circle, and other devotees in the second circle, and then other people in the third circle to protect Lord Chaitanya. Because as anyone who's gone to India, especially those of us who used to take third-class trains when we first went to India, maybe some of you remember third-class trains in India. It's like as many people as possible get in there. There's no seats. There's nothing. There's a few seats, but you never get those few seats. And it's basically, so this tendency, even nowadays, it still goes on sometimes in the airport to crowd. So therefore they form these three circles. So in the first circle was Srivas Thakur and many intimate devotees of the Lord. And in the second circle was Prataparudra and Harishchandra. So Srivas was feeling such ecstasy that he was standing right in front of Prataparudra, and Prataparudra couldn't see. So Harishchandra tapped on the shoulder of Srivas to indicate, well, here's the king, stand aside. As we hear in Brihat Bhagavatamrita, that when Nanda Gopakumar was before Lord Jagannath, he was feeling such great ecstasy, but then the king came and everybody got pushed aside. So Harishchandra, in that mood, he wanted to indicate that should move aside, the king's here. And so Srivas just moved his shoulder, like somebody's bothering you, like go like this. And then he tapped on his shoulder again, and then he went like this. And then Harishchandra tapped on his shoulder and said something. And Srivas turned around and slapped him. And he was a little angry. But immediately Prataparudra turned and he said, don't be angry, you fool. You have been blessed by Srivas Thakur, an intimate associate of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I wish that I could get such great fortune. I wish that I could get such wonderful, great fortune. So then Lord Chaitanya danced, and he was dancing so ecstatically that the tears from his eyes were shooting out and drenching everyone. And every time that those tears would touch the body of a devotee, he would feel such great ecstasy. And then he fell on the ground, and his body was oozing blood instead of sweat. And then finally he got up and started dancing again. And then he went around to the back of the cart. So it's explained that when he went to the back of the cart, it's indicating, as we just read, that he's saying all these years of separation from Krishna, Radharani, feeling such separation, saying that it seems like the Lord has forgotten us, that we've been separated for so long that it seems like he's forgotten us. And so then Lord Chaitanya, he begins to push the cart, meaning that now in their conversation, well, the conversation hasn't really begun, but he is the actual motivating factor, that Krishna moves by the desire of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, not that Mahaprabhu moves according to the desire of Krishna or Radharani. Radharani is supreme. So then she goes in front. Now Krishna has remembered her, and so she goes in front of the whole Rathayatra. Lord Chaitanya is dancing in ecstasy. All the devotees are dancing. The kirtan groups are going on. And in that dancing, then through that dancing, and of course Prataparudra is seeing this, there's a conversation between Jagannath and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or in other words, between Krishna and Radharani, which indicates that this is Kurukshetra, and Radharani is inviting Krishna. She says that, Krishna, please come back to Vrindavan. What are you doing here? Here, amidst the rattling of chariots, you're wearing a helmet and armor. On top of a chariot, there's elephants and horses, soldiers, and so many people that I'm remembering the beautiful moonlit nights. Just like right now, it's almost a full moon, so you can see the beautiful moonlit night in Vrindavan when we are together. But now I'm feeling such separation. And then she says something very interesting, that Anyara Hriday Moramana Vrindavan. That she says, Anyara Hriday Man. That most people, their heart and their mind are the same. What does that mean? It means generally our hearts follow our minds. Just like Krishna says, Jayato Vishayan Pumsam Sangate Shupajayate. That in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says in second chapter that be very careful what you meditate on, because your heart will go there. Whatever object you meditate on, you will form some attachment, and from that attachment, you will become. You'll feel the desire to enjoy it, and then you will become angry when you're separated from it. So don't do that. That's Krishna's advice. Be very careful. So this is what Radharani is saying. Most people, wherever their mind goes, their heart goes. But she says that Manamora Vrindavan, that actually my heart is always in Vrindavan, and my mind is always in Vrindavan. They cannot go anywhere else. Even if I'm separate, if I'm outside of Vrindavan, my mind remains there. And therefore, Mani Vani Ekakadi Jani, I cannot separate myself from Vrindavan. So therefore, please take your beautiful lotus feet and place them again in Vrindavan. This was her petition to the Lord. So Lord Chaitanya begins this conversation, and he says, my dear Krishna, you have left us. This is, for me, although it's so painful and so difficult that you left us, you separated yourself from us. That's very difficult and very painful for me. But, I'm used to it. Otherwise, you did it so many times in Vrindavan. You walked away from the Ras Leela. Sometimes you hide yourself. Sometimes you torture me by going with Chandravali. Sometimes you do so many different things. So I'm used to that. But what about Nanda Maharaj? What about Yashoda Mai? No. You can torture me or even kill me by your separation. But do you want to kill your mother? You want to kill your father? Otherwise, that was a low blow by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, meaning that using the mother and the father, as otherwise you have to come back to Vrindavan. If you won't do it for me, will you not do it for Nanda Maharaj, Yashoda Mai? Just like with the COVID, it's more dangerous for elderly people. So she's basically saying that this separation, this extremely difficult virus of separation, the Lala Samai, or the separation, the lamentation and separation, that's okay for me. I'm young. But Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Mai, they're older. They won't be able to bear this separation any longer. Therefore, you must come back to Vrindavan. That was her petition. And then Krishna says to Radharani, well, in Kurukshetra, when the gopis are all pleading to him, please come to Vrindavan, he says, you are all addressing me as the Supreme Person. So as the Supreme Person, I'm situated in your hearts. And therefore you can meditate on me. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as Radharani says to Jagannath, well, this is an absurd proposition. Because first of all, I've been trying to forget you for, how many years? 70 years, 80 years, I've been trying to forget you. But I can't forget you. So therefore, what is the use of trying to meditate on you if I can't even forget you? I'm already meditating. And as far as the gopis, that type of a proposition, they are simply wanting to worship your lotus feet. Therefore, such a proposition is so absurd. Therefore, Krishna, stop your games and just come back to Vrindavan. So this is the conversation that's going on. Prataparudra is relishing it. Everybody else is dancing in ecstasy. Swarup Damodar and Ramananda Roy and a few others can perceive what's going on. Otherwise, everybody else is just enjoying the kirtan, which, of course, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says there is no difference between the ecstasy of the gopis in Ras Leela surrounding Krishna and the kirtan of the devotees in Ratha Yatra surrounding Krishna, and so surrounding Mahaprabhu. So then, finally, Krishna, Jagannath begins to speak. He says, my dear Radharani, I'm so sorry to have caused you so much grief. As you know, there were so many demons attacking Vrindavan. And for the safety of all of you, many of you became so disturbed and so full of anxiety that in order to free you from that, I went to Mathura and I killed the king of the demons, Kamsa, who was actually sending all these people. But I could understand there were still many demons. There were still many demons out there. So I established a fort in Dwarka so that my devotees would not be disturbed by these envious kings and demons. And Mathura was too open and also too close to Vrindavan. So, I've been in Dwarka. But I have to tell you, in Dwarka, when I arrived in Dwarka, I was feeling so much separation. There hasn't been one day going by without myself thinking of you. And actually, when two people whose love is so intense as the love between us are separated, they cannot bear one day. Otherwise, if one day or a few days go by, they will die. They'll die of separation. And therefore, understanding this, I made a special prayer to Lord Narayan. And he granted me a special boon that I could go to Vrindavan every day. So I do that every day. Since I left, I've been going to Vrindavan, and I enter into your heart. And by doing so, then you have not died and I have not died. Otherwise, we would both be dead. So please understand this very essential fact. But in any case, I just have 2 or 3 or 4 more demons to kill, and then I'll come back to Vrindavan. And of course, that wasn't true. But Krishna is famous for saying things. Therefore, he said to Arjuna, you declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. Because if he would have said it, then people could doubt. Even when Advaita Acharya was, he was preaching, he started preaching yoga sutras and some Mayavad philosophy, because Lord Chaitanya would always honor him as a superior. And he was begging Lord Chaitanya, please accept me as your servant. I don't want to be your superior. So then, because of that, then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he became disturbed because Advaita thought, if I do this, then he will punish me, and then I will be in a subservient position. So so he did that. He preached in such a way that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and chastised him and put him in the position of the servant. And he was in ecstasy, of course. Finally got that opportunity. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in the form of Radharani and Jagannath. He was saying, anyway, one of the teachings of Advaita was that if you study the Vedas under me, then liberation will be assured. But if you accept the word of Krishna, how good is his word? No, he's failed many times. Therefore, simply chant these Vedic mantras and achieve liberation. Don't think that Krishna will give it to you. He may just cheat you. And so finally, Lord Chaitanya went and chastised. So everybody, then the Rath Yatra continued. Otherwise, that whole episode went on, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became satisfied by Lord Jagannath's promise that he will come back. And so the Rath Yatra proceeded on. And then Lord Chaitanya's dancing again became super, super ecstatic. Super ecstatic. And he started jumping very high. But this time, he was jumping high, and Lord Nityananda was also in such ecstasy, he didn't catch him. So the Lord's body became plummeting to the ground. And Prataparudra was right there, and he looked around, and everybody was in ecstasy. So he picked up Lord Chaitanya, and he put Lord Chaitanya on his lap, trying to comfort him. And he thought, this is it. This is my opportunity. But then Lord Chaitanya opened his eyes, coming out of that extreme ecstasy into, moderate ecstasy. And he saw Prataparudra, and he said, oh no, now my ecstasy has been ruined by seeing a king. And Prataparudra, and he got up and started dancing. And Prataparudra looked at Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and with a look communicating that I will never get to see and experience the ecstasy of serving and having an audience. And Sarvabhauma said, just wait, you will get the opportunity. Very soon, you will get that opportunity. So they continued to dance and chant and dance and chant. And then at one point, they came to the beautiful gardens where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took advantage. The cart stopped because Lord Jagannath decided to stop. At that point, everybody can come up and make an offering. So that goes on for a long time. Everybody, especially the Brahmins, they bring off, but other people also bring offerings and Lord Jagannath accepts all those offerings. So here we have thousands of people bringing offerings, and Lord Chaitanya took advantage of that to go rest. So he went in the gardens and he laid down. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, okay, now's your opportunity. But you don't go dressed as a king. Go dressed as a simple Vaishnava. So this is a very important instruction for all of us, because it means that we should have our consciousness dressed as a humble Vaishnava, even if we're following Krishna West and dressing in Western dress. Still, our consciousness should be draped in the simple dress. What is that simple dress? Chinadapi sunichena tororiva hishnuna manina manidina kituniya sadahari. So, Sarvabhauma's instruction and Prataparudra's action shows us that you can't approach Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you can't approach Radha and Krishna with a kingly attitude, otherwise with false ego. You will not see him, you will not understand him, unless you have the simple, humble, surrendered attitude. So Prataparudra came up and he practically crawled up to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Mahaprabhu saw him. In his ecstasy, he did not recognize him. And then Prataparudra began to massage the legs of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And at the same time, it wasn't just some physical contact. He began to recite the Gopi Gita. And he was reciting, and Lord Chaitanya was relishing. But then when he came to the famous verse, one of the most famous verse, and I'll speak a little about that verse, Tavakatam mitam tapta jivanam kavivir iditam kamashapaham Shravana Mangalam Srimad Attam, then Bhubi Grinati Te Buddhita Janaha. So this, when Lord Chaitanya heard this verse, he was in such ecstasy that he jumped up and he embraced it. He embraced Prataparudra and he said, recite it again and again and again and again. And so Prataparudra kept reciting this verse. And Lord Chaitanya said, how can I repay you for this ecstasy that you have given me? I can only give you my embrace. Of course, Prataparudra, that embrace was the perfection of his whole existence. Finally. And so that pastime also shows us that Krishna is not cheap. Mahaprabhu, although he avails himself and he avails to us the holy name of the Lord, still to understand Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one time Srila Prabhupada said, understanding Radha and Krishna is very difficult. But to understand the innermost secrets of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is even more difficult. We can understand his mercy in giving us the holy name. Although it's not easy to understand, but most devotees can understand that. But to understand how he is exhibiting and feeling and relishing the ecstasy of Srimati Radharani, how he is relishing the ecstasy of devotional service, that is not so easy to understand. So anyway, Prataparudra fulfilled his wonderful wish. Then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had given him his mercy, and then they went back to the Rath Yatra, but they couldn't move the cart. And then Prataparudra brought elephants, dozens of elephants, and people pushing and pulling the ropes, and nobody could move. And then finally Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to the back of the cart again, and just touching it with his head, it began to move. And they went and finished and came to Gundicha. Now in Gundicha, previous to the Rath Yatra, there was the cleansing of the Gundicha temple. And that cleansing is expressed, the real inner meaning of that cleansing is expressed by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Srila Prabhupada. I think it's like verse 107 of the 12th chapter of Madhya Lila, something like that. 10 something. Maybe 107, 110, something like that. Beautiful long purport where he explains, Srila Prabhupada explains the words of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, that this cleansing of the Gundicha Marjana, or the cleansing of the Gundicha temple, is Shrinvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana, is the cleansing of the heart, sweeping out all the straw, grains of sand and dust from the heart, Chetodarpana Marjanam. So that cleansing, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed that you not only do you cleanse the, all the grosser particles, it's like getting rid of bad habits. But then cleansing, then he went and personally, with hundreds of gallons of water, he cleansed the altar with his own dhoti. This is the cleansing of the subtle elements for the mind. And of course, Srila Prabhupada mentions that in his purport. This means getting rid of the weeds, the subtle weeds of that linger in the heart, which are nishidhachar, bad, kutinata. Nishidhachar means inappropriate behavior. Kutinati, the duplicity. Jiva himsa. Srila Prabhupada speaks about Jiva himsa in Bhagavad Gita, and also in the 13th chapter, and also in that particular verse, and later on it's given by Krishnadas Kaviraj Swami. That Jiva himsa doesn't mean that you attack someone physically, but Jiva himsa means that the greatest violence against the living entity is that I have the opportunity to give them Krishna consciousness and I don't do it. I don't take the opportunity. This is Jiva himsa. And then Pratishta, the desire for Pratishta and Puja to be recognized and to be worshipped. So these things are swept out of the heart. So otherwise, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in that cleansing is showing us that you have to keep cleansing the heart and keep cleansing the heart and keep cleansing the heart again and again. Otherwise, it's a lifetime proposal. It's a lifetime effort to get rid of all of these negative things within the heart. So then the whole Rath Yatra was finished. Of course, finished means they were in Gundicha. And then, of course, the goddess of fortune becomes very angry when she hears that Lord Chaitanya is in Kurukshetra and with the gopis. And so she comes and chastises everyone and insists that Lord Jagannath, you come back, you come home. So he does. But he shows that his real ecstasy is there. Now, I wanted to conclude with a very special realization that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gave about Kurukshetra and why the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur reveals this, why they consider Jagannath Puri even more intimate than Vrindavan. And the reason is because in Vrindavan, Krishna and Radha and Krishna are together. They're always together. Of course, sometimes they're separated, but they're together. And when Krishna is in Dwarka, then they are separated and feeling great separation. But in Kurukshetra, I forget the technical term. I can't remember it right now. The technical term for that, anyway, I can't remember it. But it means that they are together, but they're feeling separation. That is considered the highest ecstasy. And therefore, the ecstasy of Kurukshetra is considered to be greater than the ecstasy of Vrindavan. Because there is Krishna, there is Radha, there's looking at one another, they're seeing one another, they embrace one another, but they're still feeling separation because Krishna is not in Vrindavan, and Radharani cannot fully relish the Krishna in that form, in that Dwarka form. So this is considered to be the Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur revealed. This is the highest ecstasy that one can possibly experience. So there are some other things I could say, but we're nearing the end of the time period. So I'll stop here, conclude with that understanding. And therefore, when you go to Jagannath Puri, remember that the highest ecstasy is available here. And actually, the Aishwarya mood is there. The intimate mood is there. And therefore, just to add one little detail, that is why Nila Madhava accepted the Shabaras as his servants. Otherwise, because there is such mercy there, so much mercy in that highest feeling of ecstasy, that the Shabaras still serve Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, either the pure Shabaras, who are the servants who carry the Lord and do all the labor, and then the descendants of Vidyapati, they're Brahmins mixed with Shabaras, so they still have that Shabara blood, but they also have Brahminical. They're the ones that take care of the deities. So when Ramanujacharya went to Jagannath Puri, he saw that the method of worship was not like the strict South Indian method that he was used to. So he called all the pujaris and he said, tomorrow I'm going to teach you all how to worship the deity properly. But that night, Lord Jagannath appeared in his dream and said, I'm happy with my servants in this place just like they are. And therefore, when Ramanujacharya woke up, he was in Kurmakshetra, 1,000 kilometers to the south. And so he could understand that, yes, the Lord has his preferences. And we should try to always understand the Lord's preference and not our own preference. Even though our own preference may be based on Vedic studies or understandings or philosophy, the real essence is to understand through Shri Guru and Gauranga what is the desire of Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada has revealed that is to bring all the fallen conditioned souls back home, back to God, which is our mission. So anyway, let's see if there's any questions. Either someone can ask it directly or someone can write it down. I see that Ram Vijay Prabhu cued everyone that if you have a question, you can post them here. But if there's no posting, maybe someone could just ask the question.
Yes, if somebody would like to ask, they can just unmute their line and ask the question.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, go.
Maharaj, this was so wonderful. Thank you so much for taking us through those wonderful ecstatic pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's most of us have never been to Jagannath Puri, and just the narration of your pastimes transported us there. Just listening to you, it felt like we're living through the whole experience that what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu must have felt. So it was so wonderful to hear these beautiful pastimes. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. So any questions or?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you for a nice class. Have a question. The technical word that we were looking for was it pralamba?
Well, no, not Vipralamba.
Vipralamba. It's not Vipralamba.
No, it's not Vipralamba.
Okay.
Vipralamba is separation, full separation. I'll look up the term again. I can't remember it.
I have a question. I have always wondered about why when Jagannath comes back and the Lakshmi Devi is angry at him. Is there any inner meaning behind that?
Well, because just like any wife, just like when Krishna is in, this is also representing when Krishna is in Dwarka, then he begins to, when he's starting to feel the remembrance of Vrindavan very intensely, he starts to say the names of the cows.
Yes.
And the cowherd boys. But then he starts reciting the names of the gopis. And that's very disturbing. As any wife, any one of you who's married, you can imagine if you were dreaming and sleep, and then all of a sudden you said, Maria, Maria, or something like that. Well, your wife probably would hit you over the head with something. And so the queens of Dwarka were feeling such anxiety that who are these gopis? Just like the gopis said, Krishna, we can understand you don't want to come back and see us. That's all right, but because we understand these ladies there, they're very sophisticated, and we're just simple village girls. But do you still remember us? At least. Sometimes, do you remember us? They were so surrendered to Krishna that just thinking that Krishna is remembering me would give them satisfaction. But so Lakshmi Devi, when she hears, this is to represent that same feeling that when Lakshmi or the Lakshmis expanded, the previous expansions, the queens of Dwarka, are hearing, they become disturbed. They want to understand. So actually, Lakshmi Devi goes there and she punishes Krishna's servants, actually the cowherd boys, whoever is around. But she's really trying to understand what is it? What do these gopis have that I don't have? That's what she really wants to understand. And of course, then the Lord comes back. And when Krishna went to Vrindavan after his last visit to Vrindavan, he went there. He only stayed for very little time. Then he went back to Dwarka. When he went back to Dwarka, all of the residents of Vrindavan went back to the spiritual world. There was no way they could have again felt the separation from Krishna after seeing him again. 2 times. First he left for Mathura, then he left them in Kurukshetra, and then he went to Vrindavan, and so they all went back home, back to Godhead, and they were replaced by replicas. And just as Krishna replaced himself by a replica when he went back to Goloka Vrindavan after his pastime. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Here we have some written questions. That says, could you please explain the significance of Lord Jagannath's big eyes? Yes. His big eyes, when the queens of Dwarka, after seeing the attachment that Krishna had for the gopis and for Vrindavan, they approached Rohini because they knew that Rohini had been in Vrindavan. Why is Krishna so attached to Vrindavan? So Rohini said, I'm obligated, I'm obliged to never speak these things here because that's my obligation. But we can go to a secret place and I can explain to you behind closed doors. So, so they said, okay. And Subhadra, but they said, wait a minute, we have to make sure that for protecting Rohini's promise, we have to make sure that Krishna and Balaram don't come. And so we have to have, somebody has to go outside. And Subhadra said, well, I already know these things. So let me go outside. So she went outside to stand guard. And she put her arms out like this. And so then Rohini began to speak the pastimes of Krishna. And as she spoke, Subhadra was hearing it through the door. And then Subhadra had her arms like this, but then out of ecstasy, her eyes became very big and her arms retracted within her body and her legs began to come in, retract into her body like a tortoise. And so then Krishna and Balaram came walking by and they saw what's wrong with Subhadra? She looks so strange. What is she? Why does she have this? Her eyes are so wide. Why does she have this huge smile? And where are her arms and legs? So they went up and they heard some talking. So they themselves put their backs behind the door to hear it better. Each one at one side of, and when they heard the pastimes of Lord's pastimes, Krishna's eyes became unbelievably big, the biggest of all. His arms partially retracted and his legs came into his body. His smile, Lord Jagannath's smile became immense. And then Balaram, his eyes expanded, not quite as much as you can see it, Lord Jagannath's eyes compared to Baladev's eyes. But he was so ecstatic also, his smile. So that's how they took these forms. So these are the forms of ecstasy. One devotee, Deva Maya, she wrote to Srila Prabhupada, and she said, Srila Prabhupada, does Lord Jagannath have his own planet? And Prabhupada said, no. This is a lila, lila rupa. This is a form of ecstasy. And he briefly explained it because the devotees didn't know anything about it. So Lord Srila Prabhupada explained that this is their form of ecstasy of remembering Vrindavan. So we should pray to Lord Jagannath that when I remember Vrindavan, let me exhibit some similar character. My eyes may not be able to get that big because I don't have a transcendental body, but at least let me feel this happiness when I remember Vrindavan. Okay. So here's another question. Why did Srila Prabhupada not visit so often Jagannath Puri? Srila Prabhupada, he went to Jagannath Puri and he spent several days there. He spoke to the pundits, he spoke to the king of Puri, and some of the pundits were agreeable because he said, why are you not allowing my disciples to come into the temple? He said, you allow any meat eater who is born as a Hindu, he may be eating meat, he may be having illicit sex, he may do all that. Our devotees are strictly following these principles. They are taking only Krishna Prasadam, and you do not allow them. And then some of the pundits were sympathetic, and they had a little meeting, but then they said, I'm sorry, we couldn't convince everybody else. So Srila Prabhupada said, then Lord Jagannath, he is unlimited, he can go anywhere. So we will worship Lord Jagannath wherever we have a temple. And of course, Srila Prabhupada had already, by that time, done the first Rath Yatra, because Lord Jagannath appeared in the West in his first Rath Yatra by appearing to Mother Malati. She went to, she was very neophyte. She went to an Indian store, and it wasn't even an Indian store. It was like some variety store. And she saw this little Indian doll, which was Jagannath. And she took it and showed it to Prabhupada. And to her surprise, Prabhupada got up and bowed down, offered obeisances. And she was thinking Prabhupada offered obeisances to her, but actually he was offering obeisances to Jagannath. And he explained, he said, "Are there any other figures?" And she said, "Oh yes, there were two more." Prabhupada said, "Immediately bring them." And so she went back to the store. I think she didn't have any money, so she took them by five finger discount. And she brought Subhadra and Baladev. And then with those little tiny deities, Srila Prabhupada told Shyam Sundar Prabhu, "Can you carve deities?" And then they had the first Rath Yatra. So anyway, Prabhupada didn't visit so often because of that. Because he felt like, I will worship Jagannath in our temples so that all of my disciples can worship Lord Jagannath. Of course, Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, and Haridas Thakur never went into the temple of Jagannath. They showed the humility of a devotee, that a devotee never considers himself qualified. So they didn't argue that, wait, I'm a Brahmin, I can go in, I'm a Hindu, whatever. So there's some more questions. Why does Subhadra deity not have her arms like Lord Jagannath Balaram? As I explained, not only her arms went in just like theirs, but because they were standing right next to her, you can't see her arms because they stood in front of her arms. That's why. And then another question, I think we'll have to finish then, because I'm sure everyone is hungry. After Krishna returns to Dwarka, that in the pastime of Rath Yatra, we perceive it as 7 days. How long does it take for Krishna to return to Vrindavan again? Oh, it was many years afterward. Many, many years afterward. The whole festival takes 8 days, but there's if you count the cleansing of the whole thing together, it's 15 days if you count everything. But from the beginning of the parade to when Lord Jagannath returns is 8 days. So yes, if we wanted to do everything just like Jagannath Puri, we would have to have our Rath Yatras in 8 days. But probably the parks wouldn't allow us to keep the deities in the park for 8 days. Nor would we want Lord Jagannath to be out in a park where people are smoking and drinking and skateboarding and everything else. So we do it in 1 day. So anyway, let us conclude here so that all of you can continue with your activities and I can continue mine. Thank you all very, very much for this opportunity, and maybe we can take other opportunities in the future. If you want, I'm at your service. Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Devi ki
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Nitai Gaur Premanandi Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai. Hari
Maharaj,
Hari
thank you
Bol.
so much. Thank you so much for your time.
His Holiness Guru Prasad Maharaj ki jai.
We will we're very grateful once again for your association with our congregation today, and we are looking forward to the next opportunity with you to spend more time. We'll move on to our next part of the program, which is some announcements, and then Nashinga Prayer Maharaj, you are welcome to stay, but I'm sure if you have other things to do,
Yeah, I do. I actually have another Sunday feast program. So
okay. Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay. Thank you very much. Hari Bol.
Hare
Srila
Krishna.
Prabhupada ki Jai.
Okay.
संसार दावानन्दनीरलोका तदाय कारुण्य घनाघनत्यम् प्राप्त सकलन गुणान्नवश वन्दे गुरश्री चरणा